I'm just admitting people from the waiting room. Sorry to be a couple minutes late. I was having a little computer issue. Okay, and I'm just opening up all the comments and questions. I hope everyone's feeling really great, and I hope we are feeling very proud of ourselves for this week. Hold on just a moment. I'm on the wrong week for the questions. Let's see, Wednesday, February 7th. I'm just looking for questions for this week. Uh, there we go. Week 4. That's what I needed. I was like, we're not on week 3. We're on week 4. We're there. Congratulations, everyone. So exciting and so proud of everyone. I know that this is quite a journey and that it's definitely a huge commitment and everyone should be really proud of themselves. And look, if you are struggling and you feel like you didn't, um, you know, work through, especially phase 2 in earnest, you can always go back. That's the beautiful thing about this is that you have so many resources now and that you're so well equipped to read labels and understand different food groups and which food groups are common inflammatory response groups and how you're feeling. And hopefully from all of this, one of the biggest things that you've gained is insight into the connection between um, nourishment and how you feel. So that insight into yourself to understand that it is impactful and it impacts almost every area, or if not every single area of our lives, is how we're nourishing ourselves and the food and beverages that we choose to ingest. That's just one area of nourishment, but it's such a vitally important one when we're thinking about fertility and inflammation and overall health and how it can impact our emotions, our stress response, our mood, um, our day-to-day interactions. And it's not just our weight and our physical side, but it's everything. It's um, impacts our hormones, our inflammation, our inflammatory response, impacts how we're feeling in our body, our pain. It impacts our thinking processes, our brain, the brain fog, and certainly impacts our energy levels. So it's really just so vitally important. And I'm so proud of everyone. And this is such a milestone to reach this week. It always starts off feeling so slow and then it goes so fast. And so I'm just really honoring all of you and saying, job well done and congratulations. You're here. You're on week 4. So, so Laura Lee, this is a great question about when we start to reintroduce foods into our system and something upsets the system, what should we feel? I would say that you need to check in and notice any off symptoms. So it could be anything from a physical symptom to an emotional symptom, to an energy level symptom. So it could be that you're feeling, our typical red flags. So I would review like what are red flag symptoms like bloating, gas, bowel movements, gurgling stomach, acid reflux. These are all physical ones. Feeling a fullness sensation, even if it's not bloating, but fullness. Feeling thirsty, feeling hot, feeling anxious, losing sleep. Did it impact your cycle? It could be skin is a big, big indicator. Like, did you have a response on your skin? For me, and I always tell this story that I'm very sensitive to a lot of different things that I didn't really understand or know about, like the impact of it until I really started tuning in and checking in. And one of those things is soy. Now, the only reaction that I have to soy that I can really pick up on is that it's not even eczema on my skin. It's just that I get inflammation, like redness, almost like as though you've touched something that is an irritant, or like you've washed your hands with bad soap. Like that's a big one for me. So when I have soy, I get it on the palms of my hands, both hands, and it's like red. And it's not eczema, like full-blown eczema where there's like little like a wet or a dry eczema. It's just like redness, actually. It can be a little bit itchy when it gets exacerbated. So for me, and it doesn't happen that same day. It actually takes 2 or 3 days. So it's that's why we love food journaling, is because it can be a little bit hard to trace sometimes. It could be an immediate reaction, sure, but it could also be something that you had the day before or 2 days before. So for me, soy is a big one. And the one symptom I get with soy is like this eczema-like skin condition, and it's on both hands. Oftentimes with autoimmunity, it happens on both sides of the body. If it's one of those kinds of reactions like rheumatoid arthritis, is like pain and swelling both sides of the body, usually both sides of the body. So it would be like both wrists are inflamed and hurt. And I say usually because I don't like this like hard and fast all the time with some of these different conditions. But so for me, it's the palms. And this is like maybe 1 or 2 summers ago. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't figure out why I'm getting the redness on my palms. And I just call it eczema. I guess it's like a dry eczema, I would say. Um, and I was like, I don't understand. I know everything I'm ingesting. I know all my products, and I think everything seems safe and fine. But admittedly, like I don't cook very often. My husband actually does most of the cooking. And part of that was that when we first started dating, he was like, "Oh, he grew up in Italy, so he's very snobby about the we were having this was back when I ate gluten. I made pasta for him. And I was so proud of it, and I thought I made something really beautiful. And he's like, "Oh, the oil's burnt." And I was like, "What do you mean the oil's burnt? It doesn't smell burnt. Like I don't understand it." And so since then, and it was like literally, I think the first 3 months that we were together, I was just like, "Okay, you get to cook." And so he loves it, and so he does most of it. I do some things, but so he's the primary one in the kitchen, and he also does most of our shopping. And so I couldn't figure out why I was getting this eczema. And I'm telling the story just to show you how sneaky things are. And I was like, I was looking through all my supplements, did my supplement checks, because like supplements can change with what the ingredients are. And sometimes they'll put sulfites in it. In different countries, it can be the same supplement, same brand, same supplement, but it has like sulfites in it, for example. I've had that happen. Or they have soy in them. And I was like, gosh, what is this? And so then I was asking him, and one day he came in and he was like, oh yeah, I've been using this awesome organic coconut oil spray for cooking. And sure enough, I looked at it and he's like, it's so great. And I looked at it and sure enough, there it was, soy. So I'm just saying this, that like, even you have to check your labels every time you shop, because the brands do change their formulations or their ingredients. And even if it's like something like as seemingly benign as organic coconut oil spray in general can be kind of tricky, but this one, it had like 2 ingredients, and it was it was like coconut oil and soy. So there we go. I know that was a long-winded story, but I thought it's an important way, as I feel like this is our last call, and like I'm kind of setting you free, and I want you to learn from some of the lessons that I've had to learn from. So when you start reintroducing foods into your system, we're not just looking at like bowel movements and bloating and indigestion, all of those like really clear digestive signs. We're also looking, particularly important is the skin is a big like red flag provider We're also looking at mood, like anxiety. There are certain things when you have autoimmune conditions, if you have them, they can cause some anxiety. So it's even down to that level. Sleep, anxiety, mood, um, if you're craving things, if you're hot or you're cold, if you start sweating, like all different kinds of red flag symptoms, and they can vary in degrees. Um, but it's just worth tracking and noting, and just also knowing that it may not be immediate. It may be a day delayed. Rachel, I have had lots of loose stools in phase 2, perhaps lack of fiber. Is this expected or unexpected? Usually, I still have a few days of varying consistency. It's even in phase 1, it's been more regular than recently, but this is unusual. I would say like add if it's persistent for a period of time, I would definitely add like sweet potato and or some rice. Ellen, I meant to ask last week, not sure if someone had asked this before. And also phase 2, you're having more liquid, right? So, I would just add in something solid if it's for more than like a day or two. Diarrhea you can get dehydrated from, so let's go ahead and bind that up just a little bit. I meant to ask this last week, not sure if someone had asked before. It's safe to assume that the Google Doc is more current than the book. I noticed at Quality Guide, page 43, it shows that for phase 2, no fruit during phase 2. Figured I'd go with the Google Doc. Okay, so Egg Quality Guide, page 42, phase 2. Okay, so I'm going with my cheat sheet as my resource. So again, the frequently asked question guide is a draft. Like we weren't going to provide it, but then we decided to. So I would say what you go with is what's in the book. And I would say that the other resource I would always check is the egg quality diet eating cheat sheet. And so for phase 2, on the cheat sheet, I'm just double checking it. The fruits that you can have in phase 2 are avocado, coconut, lemon, and lime. It's very specific what fruits you can have. Okay, Jocelyn, curious about the reintroduction of foods in the days coming up and what telltale signs are to look for. Can you provide examples? So we just went through that, so I hope that that was clear. I know, Jocelyn, you're on the call. Thank you. Is it clear, or do you have more questions on that? We don't have as many questions this week, so if you want to unmute and let me know if you have more questions, please do.
Hi, Carrie. Yeah, I think I'm good. I guess it's so hard to like isolate, but I'm just gonna keep kind of tracking and
Yeah.
checking and hoping for the best. So that was super helpful, the explanation.
Oh, good.
Um, Ironically, I used a hand soap yesterday, and then like 2 hours later, it was like, oh my God. And I'm like, wait, is
Oh
it
my
the
God.
food or is it soap? So I'll just keep monitoring as we go. But thanks.
It was
I appreciate
probably,
it.
it sounds like, I don't know, was the soap like a bad one? It sounds, because
I mean, yeah, it was just like a winter apple type, whatever. It's
yeah,
too complicated.
anything that has like on the soaps stuff, it's so important. Like anything that has like perfume or fragrance means that it's like trademark, so they don't want you to know what the chemicals are in there. The soap that I've been loving is called Everyone's Soap, and I have super duper sensitive skin, and this one I love, love, love. So, it's my favorite right
Okay,
now.
thanks.
Yeah, I think that like Myers, people love it, but Myers has some stuff in it that's toxic because I absolutely can't use it. My hands react so badly. And I'm such like a barometer for especially for the palms. My palms are just like super, super sensitive. And so Myers has something in it that that isn't great. And this is the most effective, like gentlest soap that I've been able to find. And I love it. Yeah. And you can get it like anywhere, like Thrive Market has it, Whole Foods has it. It's pretty um ubiquitous, so you'll be able to find it. Nastasia, okay. After I asked this several times if the animals are all the way past it, and he confirmed it. Today I see on the website that cows do live inside for at least 6 months and get corn. Oh, and grains seems to be not as unusual as far as I understand. The food is organic, but it's just corn and grains. Is it better to switch to 100% pasteurized? Found a website. Yeah, I mean, I know it's like this food labeling has become such like a thing. Even organic itself, it's like, okay, we can say that it's organic, but like organic standards in different countries are different. So is like organic apples from this country the same as organic apples from that country? So it's not um as though even organic there's means the same thing. It's a certification that's like achieved by meeting certain standards that vary depending. It can even be varying depending on what state you're in, at least if you're from the US perspective. So it's like it's one of those things that's really can be quite confusing and misleading. So the best way is to like do the due diligence and really understand um what uh what pasture means for that particular brand. I mean, that's the only way to do it. And I know it's like it's so time consuming, but I find that if you like do the work and have an understanding and find a place that you're really comfortable with, that's the best way. So I think I would just, even if it's on the website that it's 100% pasture, like just confirm it maybe, and just like really now you understand what to look for and the questions to ask. Um, I see the words grass fed on my beef products. Have you seen that? Yeah, grass fed, Jocelyn, I've seen, but like, what does grass fed mean? Like, again, it's like down to the labeling. Yeah, I agree with Nastasia. Like, it's when and how are they grass fed? Like, does it mean that there's like a little thing of grass inside of a big barn? I don't know. It's really, really out of control, actually. And then Sonia says, I think that's why some products say grass-fed and finished. The finished means that until the very end, they are only grass-fed, and that would be our ideal choice. But not everyone has easy access to it. As you mentioned, you could be considered getting something like a butcher box online. I think it's a good idea. Yeah, so it's just like knowing that like that X does not equal Y. Like it's just it's crazy. I wish that there was some standardization. But again, what does farm to table mean? In some, I think that they're allowed to say that even if there's like a step in between, like a big manufacturing place in between, there's still a way to say and label and market. Again, it's a cash crops, like cash cows here, unfortunately. And so they're very, very um sneaky ways to get through, and they certainly do their research and know what the public is and what the market is looking for, and people want to see grass fed and they want to see farm to table. So they found a way to say farm to table, even though it may not truly, it may be farm to manufacturer to table. So it's like it's just it's you've got to be really careful. I think that's the takeaway. And not every country, not every state, not every producer, like it's all different. There's different labeling requirements. Um, Courtney says, I know everyone is saying perfection doesn't equal pregnancy, but if your mission is to heal your gut, if I go out and enjoy myself one night and then continue with the diet the next day, won't that interfere with the gut healing? Well, it depends. Like, I mean, I don't think one night, I mean, it is going to be hugely impactful. I think that one night is okay. I think that So your question is, I know everyone is saying perfection doesn't equal pregnancy, but if your mission is to heal your gut, if I go out and enjoy myself one night and then continue with the diet the next day, won't that interfere with the gut healing and improving at quality. I mean, one night is okay. Like just go back to it. It's it's not as though like it will end your chances in one night. Um as long as we're talking about like the normal kinds of like going out and having a pizza and a glass or two of wine, or along those lines. We're not talking about other recreational things. I think that I wouldn't, slipping off the diet and having a couple drinks, there is something to enjoying life and having fun, because this becomes so analytical that you're taking like joy out of life and spark and magic if you're in relationship, or just like being so hard on yourself that it becomes like just that you're criticizing yourself even more than we already criticize ourselves. Like that's not healthy either. So we have to enjoy life. If there's a big wedding that you need to go to, then go to the wedding and have fun and enjoy it, and then just come back. And one night is not going to it's not going to interfere significantly to the point that like your chances are over even for that cycle. Like it's not with diet and lifestyle, consistency is key. So having, consistency, that's why we say it's not perfection, it's consistency. So you're like consistently meditating. It doesn't mean that if you skip one day of meditating, you've like ruined chances. Consistently eating well is that, we're 80/20, for example, consistently having cooked vegetables, but we like raw vegetables sometimes. So okay, there's your 20% for the raw. Like it's all doable, and it's like enjoying. There's something really, really important to enjoying and living life. And this is like also kind of what we talk about with the data, that it's amazing to have all of this data and all of this testing. And we definitely recommend so much testing, but like if you've coached with me, um recently I've been talking, and I know Amy talks about this a lot too, is that, you know, we're not looking at these anomalies of like, if we're tracking with like the MIRA, for example, we're not looking at one number once. We're looking at trends, and we're looking at the consistency across a period of time. That's why, if you send 1 month of data, like, okay, I'll look at it, but I want to see, a trend, a pattern over several months. So we're not robots, we're not perfection, in our day-to-day lives of nutrition and diet. Like there doesn't have to be perfection in that. And I hope that makes sense and resonates. Nastasia, if it says on the package may contain traces of soya, gluten, and nuts. So I think that it depends on label. Again, like each place, each country is different with their labeling requirements. I often see that type of wording would be on if they're in the same production facility as nuts and gluten. I think that the labeling has to put that on in case there's trace elements. And I think that most everything has trace elements. There is uh, a lot of trace element of cross contamination. So I think it just depends. Does that statement end with a because it's produced in the same facility? If that's the case, then I'm not, they're just protecting themselves, especially with the nuts and nut allergies. So this is more like a true allergy. Um, but I suspect that it's because it's like a standardized label of if it's manufactured or if it's processed or packaged in the same facility. So this is where like your small batch, small producers are great to have on hand, because it's not a big, huge manufacturing facility. Courtney, there's some recipes in phase 3 that have maple syrup in the recipe. Can we use it, or do we have to wait until phase 4? I, which page are you looking at and which recipes? I would have to, I'm not sure, which, um, what you're referring to on that one. So in phase 2, let's see, phase 2, no sugars or sweeteners. Phase 3, 4, reintroduce honey, maple syrup, stevia. So I think the rule of thumb here with the reintroduction, so if the recipe is in phase 3, um, it's a question of like, what have you reintroduced from the sweeteners and artificial sweeteners category? So if you're just reintroducing, so the key to reintroduction is reintroducing one thing at a time from that category, one thing at a time. Let's just keep it really simple. So reintroducing one thing at a time. So as you're reintroducing honey, we wouldn't want to reintroduce honey and maple syrup at the same time. We want to reintroduce honey on its own. We want to reintroduce maple syrup on its own. So this is not a, free for all that in one day we're having honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar, and all of this. And we need to wait until week 12 of the phase. So that's the other piece that's important. So it's phase 3, 4, and the reintroduction of honey, maple syrup, stevia, sugar in the raw, or coconut sugar is week 12 of that phase. I hope that, or week 12. I hope that that makes sense. Carolina, at what point of the diet can I introduce gluten-free bread? Is it phase 4? I've been gluten-free since October 22, so used to eat a lot of gluten-free bread. So that's a kind of a loaded question because I don't know what's in your gluten-free bread. So I would have to look at each ingredient and see when each ingredient is a candidate for reintroduction. So I guess my answer is it depends on what the ingredients are in that gluten-free bread. Not all gluten-free breads are the same. What would be the maximum number of eggs we can have daily? I love eggs and eat about 3 a day. Is that okay? Are you reactive to the egg whites at all? If you have a sensitivity towards the egg whites, and that seems like a lot, and I would just stick with the yolks. But as far as like the eggs and the number, I'm gonna read to you what I usually put in my coaching here's my language or my recommendation for eggs. Okay. So eggs are 5, so aim for getting 5 eggs per week, eating eggs with the yolk. And so the recommendation that we have is like 5 per week. 3 per day. It depends also, like, do you have eggs in other products that you're making or other recipes? So I mean, it just depends on is it like 3 hard-boiled eggs that you're having plus eggs and everything else? That seems like a lot to me, but um and I would also just ask like how are you reacting to the egg whites? Nastasia, I was wondering if cranberries go in the category of 6 to 8 servings of low-sugared fruits we can have in phase 3 as they are berries, or are they considered dried fruit? Will you be eating them fresh or dried? I think it depends. Fresh is less sugar, dried is more sugar. I love cranberries. I completely agree. I think that the dried fruit is not good if you have histamine reaction. Especially a dried fruit has a ton of sugar in general. Um, so I think that if they're fresh, they're actually an incredible prebiotic. And I love fresh cranberries. And the recipe I do for fresh cranberries is I I just do a small cranberries boiled in a small amount of water. I don't put sugar in them. I don't put any sweetener. What I will put are orange segments, and I will cook some of them with orange, and I put cinnamon in them. And then sometimes I'll add fresh oranges on top, and that's just tastes so good. And I think that if you need any sort of sweetener with it, you can do a little bit of honey as long as it's the right phase. Um, but I yeah, that's what I recommend. And then let's see, Jody, is stevia considered an artificial sweetener or just a sweetener? Would agave be better alternative for sweetener in the morning? So, um, I want to look something up actually. So stevia is a natural sweetener, but what I want to see is stevia versus agave on the glycemic index. So I love like referring to the glycemic index because this shows like how it's going to affect your blood sugar. Um so agave has more calories and more sugar than the stevia. So, so yeah, it's a choice of, are you going super sweet or stevia seems to have a lot less. Um, okay. When is a good time to take liver pills, morning or afternoon, with or without food? Um, yeah, I think you can take the liver pills anytime. And I think liver pills, I would would want to take them with food. I think that that's feels good. Can we have foods along with water in general? Or do we have to wait a half an hour later? Just wondering. That's a really good question, Angelina. I am not particular on that. I know that there are some practices where you don't have um any that you eat and then have the water, but I think also we're having like a lot of soups and smoothies and things like that on the egg quality diet. So I'm actually I don't have a preference for that. I just want you to be hydrated. So I would see how you feel both ways, and for me in my view, I don't have a huge opinion on that one. I think that I would have to say like what volume of water are we talking about? Are you having like huge amounts of water? Are you drinking water throughout the day? I think that I know actually my in-laws, they they only have water with meals. And so to me, like that's too much. At a mealtime, I would rather if like have a small glass of water at a meal and then drink water throughout the day. So I think my recommendation would be like fine to have like you know, a small amount, like a cup of water during the meal, and then, but make sure your hydration is occurring, especially in the morning and like throughout the day, that you're getting hydrated and you're not just practicing where you're just hydrating at meals. I think that that would maybe be something that could affect digestion. I don't know. It's a good question, but I think that staying hydrated throughout the day is really important for digestive process and just for hydration in general and health. Can we have this in phase 2? It has coconut, treacle, coconut, and carrageenan. Yeah, carrageenan is a no. Like no, no carrageenan. How can one tell if the kink is food related or hormones? Yeah, so carrageenan, and I don't carrageenan is derived from red seaweed, is my understanding. Carrageenan is a no. It's I would say with as with everything, and I don't know what coconut What is coconut treacle? Got me stumped today, guys. Coconut. Dun, 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 dun. It's a syrup. It's like maple syrup. So coconut treacle is a syrup. So I would say that I would put that in the category of sweeteners first and foremost. So like this is where I want to like take you through my process. So like this is a new product. I've not seen this product before. So what do? I look at each and every ingredient. So coconut treacle. So sugar is labeled in so many different ways on labels. And this is yet another way to label a sweetener where it looks like, oh, it's coconut. This is going to be fine. So I would say that this goes into the sweetener category. So for phase two, no sugars or sweeteners. So no. And then the next flag on here is, okay, I'm okay with coconut, cinnamon, carrageenan. So carrageenan, let's look at that. Carrageenan is a no. Now, why have they put derived from red seaweed? Because my understanding is that that is what carrageenan is. Um, so I think that they're like trying to um to trick you again. So carrageenan, yeah. Okay. So they're trying to trick you a little bit again too, because carrageenan has become a popular no-no food or no-no additive. Carrageenan is derived from red seaweed. So you see red seaweed and you think, oh my gosh, red seaweed, that is probably pretty healthy, right? This is where you have to really be so informed. So carrageenan is a food additive. It's a thickener and gelling agent, an emulsifier and stabilizer, and it is like banned in Europe at least, or I'm pretty sure it's banned in Europe. Um, and please correct me if I'm wrong on that on anyone, but my understanding is that it's banned in Europe. It's harmful to humans. It causes like a number of really, really aggravating inflammatory responses, GI issues, and um it's very very like toxic, if you will. And I think that it's super, super inflammatory and like they're thinking that it's linked to a lot of chronic illnesses and diabetes. I would say everyone should just have a deep dive into carrageenan, and even if it says derived from seaweed, they're just trying to trick you because it's derived from red seaweed, and red seaweed, oh, we might look at it and say, oh, this must be okay, this must be healthy. But so I would say, Mariella, this is the no-no. That carrot, even if it was allowed in phase two, which it's not because you've got a sweetener in there. So I go through and I'm like, okay, what is coconut treacle? Okay, I look it up. It's syrup and it's like maple syrup. So to me, it goes into the sweetener category. And then so that's a no for phase two. And then we go on to the ingredient list and we see the carrageenan, and that's a no, no, never. Please do not have carrageenan, guys. How can one tell if the kink is food related or hormone stress and other factors? Are the kinks, if it's food related, the reaction slash symptoms would be right away or within a day? Okay, so we went through this, and these are all really great questions. And I think the rule of thumb is like, this is why we do the reintroduction slowly. So this is why the true elimination is important. And then the reintroduction is super, super slow because, um, we want to know what we're reacting to. And so if you're reintroducing a bunch of things at once, it's going to be really hard to unravel and figure it out. So Carolina, is it possible that the egg quality diet may affect ovulation? It looks like the cycle might be around day 9, and mine is usually day 11 or 12. Okay, so each cycle can vary. We're not robots. Like this has been the theme like the past month, really, is that like you're not going to have like perfectly aligned data from month to month, every single month. Like most people will not. We will have months where or years where we may skip one period or two periods or three in that year. Stressful situations can impact. Our bodies, we're not robots where we can program that we're going to ovulate every single cycle on day 11 or 12. So I would just say like, okay, if you maybe ovulated early, then that's okay. And also a doctor scan, are you getting it scanned every month? Because a doctor scan is probably more accurate. I think I don't know how you're usually tracking your ovulation. So I would just say that like, what's the variable this month? Okay, it's the doctor's scan, that's their prediction. So I would just say like, what's the variable for that month? And also just knowing that like we have some variation from month to month. Is it normal to be constipated for a day? Well, yes, constipation is very normal in phase two. This is not emotional food question, but it makes me think, what am I doing wrong? Maybe not enough water. Yeah, I would say water for sure. And thank you for sending you love to Ellen and everyone else. Thank you, thank you. Um, yeah, so I think that often, phase two is can be some or at quality diet, there can be some fluctuation in constipation. And I think like increasing water is certainly helpful. Out of curiosity, what is the reason why eggs have to be hard boiled? Can it be soft boiled or cooked differently? Are you talking about the recipe for the avocado with the hard-boiled egg? Yeah, I think soft-boiled, if you're, I mean, as with anything undercooked, egg can give you some other things in it, like, but I think it can be soft-boiled if you prefer that. I'm okay with that. It doesn't have to be hard-boiled. But I do think actually, I'm gonna take that back. Um, it's the separating the yolk from the white. So the white, if we're just focusing on the yolk, um, it's an easy way to separate. And you can certainly soft boil your yolks. So that might be why um why there's a recommendation for hard boiled, is because it's very easy to separate the yolk and the white in that way. And so I would just ask like, is it where you're not eating a phase where you're not eating the egg white? Does the gradual reintroduction of foods begin now in phase three or at week 8, as on page 141 of the Egg Quality Diet book? I'm confused on the timing and hope to be pointed to the correct resource. Also, do we need to be continuing the liver support soup in phase three, or is it a nice to have occasionally? You don't have to have the liver support soup in any phase. If you're reacting to it, if you don't like it, if you hate it, if it's too hard for you to cook, like these are all like recommendations to help you. You could select certain ingredients out of that. I mean, I think the liver support soup, and Kelly, I might have to get back to you on this question so that I can give you like the exact page for reference. So let me actually earmark that one, that I need to get back to you on that one. We have a little bit of time left, so I'm just going to scan through Mighty Networks. I'm seeing like 1 minute ago, I think I put in the wrong, yeah, I put into week 3 that I was signing in late, so that was me. I know Jenny had posted the Egg Quality Diet cheat sheet. And so I'm just gonna, that's that. And then what other resource do I have for this one question? Egg quality resources file. Egg quality guide. That's the cheat sheet. And then egg quality diet daily tips. No, that's not. There's one resource that is super helpful. I have to find it for that exact question. And then um I wanted to just flip through and see if there was anything else that was I thought would be super relevant. Is the day 17 post missing? I don't know. Oh, okay, so 17 and 18 are up. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna get back on that particular question since you asked for specific. And then anyone who's live on the call, do you have any questions? We have like 10 minutes left. I'm just checking the chat. Yeah, going once, going twice. Okay, guys. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day or evening and best of luck. And, if you're experiencing significant things, we love working with functional medicine testing. The GI map is awesome. All of the coaches are so amazing to continue coaching with. We've got a lot of great programs. We have our 6-month long program, which is really, really an in-depth program. And, just let us know how we can best support you. And there's lots of great resources and connectivity. So best of luck to everyone. I'll miss you. And I'm so proud of everyone. Brava. Keep up the good work. None of us are perfect. Um, in any of this. So please be gentle with yourselves. Give yourselves a lot of grace and a lot of compassion. And we're all on different journeys, but connected in so many ways. So please stay connected. And I'm sending you all so much love and best wishes. Thank you.